day, I was sitting on the deck of my house, watching the breeze go through the leaves and sipping a cup of coffee and thinking just how lucky I was. I had all the rest of my life all mapped out. The kids were a little older and there was finally some time for me. I had a great husband, a job that was fulfilling, and best thing, we were leaving the next day on vacation. And we hadn't been away in 10 months and we were all so excited. We were going to go to the lake. And all we could think about was jumping in the water, hiking, kayaking, and having a good time together. I'd done all the things that you guys do in order to leave. I'd mowed the lawn. I'd cleaned out the refrigerator. I'd done the laundry. I had done the packing. But it was so worth it. The only thing I had left to do was that a project was due at work later that day. So I very reluctantly walked back in and started clicking away on my computer. I was busily at work when the phone rang. It was the police. They were at my parents' bank. "Are you Herman's daughter?" the voice on the other end of the line said. I said, "Yes, I am." They said, "Are you aware that your father's been wiring money over the last several days?" I was stunned to learn that my father had been sending money to Canada. He'd been told he'd won the Canadian lottery. All he had to do was send the taxes. My father sent $68,000 to Canada. Not only was I stunned because this had happened, but because it was so out of character for my dad. He'd come from the Depression. He didn't part easily with his money. The other thing was that my father no longer drove. He had macular degeneration, and he hardly walked to the end of the driveway to get his mail each day. Yet he had walked the 14 blocks to his bank. This was one heck of a scam. Yeah, I had my whole life planned out right. Now there was this huge detour, one for which I was totally unprepared, one for which there was a huge role reversal, one in which I was now my parents' caregiver, stuck in the middle of kids, career, and now taking care of mom and dad. I was part of the sandwich generation. So the next day, instead of basking in the sun, I spent it closing down all of their accounts. Social Security, if it had their name on, their addresses, their birthdays, everything to make certain that they were going to be safe. We finally did leave on our vacation, but I was so tired, so fragile. I just climbed into the back of the seat and fell fast asleep. How in the heck had we gotten in such a mess? You know, looking back on it now, though, I know how we got in that mess. We were all in denial. My parents weren't thinking that they were going to need any help. I certainly wasn't at all thinking that they were going to need my help. So we were all in denial. I missed all the signs. I didn't open that top drawer to see what their checkbook looked like. I didn't notice if there was unopened mail. I didn't notice that they weren't getting up until noon. So I was totally unprepared. I had no emotional support, no essential information. Now, if you were like I was, when my kids were growing up, I was totally prepared for that part of my life. I had a stack of books this high on my nightstand. I knew everything there was to know about a 2-year-old and about a 13-year-old boy. But here I was, I knew nothing about taking care of mom and dad. I'd also gotten all kinds of emotional support because I joined play groups and talked to the other parents, or the PTA, or even talked to my family about taking care of kids. I had no support for going through this phase of my life. So I was truly stuck in the middle.